Welcome to y'all. Yes, that's right. It is Women's History Month. Y'all, Women's History Month is all about women. Who knew? But y'all, that was a joke. I hope you caught it. But we are talking about women that are making a difference in the lives in their communities, in their businesses, who stand on their faith. And what we wanted to do is just feature them so they can come on, show you what they're doing, tell you about their greatness, and how they can give you some very beneficial advice about how you can go to that next step. I promise you, I've been telling everybody every time, I don't know which episode you're seeing, but all of these women have been dropping knowledge. So I'm giving you time as I speak. Get your pen, get your paper, get ready. I don't care if you got to pull out your phone, take some notes, because something will be said that is going to help you take yourself to the next level. And I promise you, you're going to thank me later. Yes, you are. You're going to thank me later. I promise you, you're going to thank me later. So I just don't, I'm just so elated with the vision that God had gave me for this. But when I tell you, it has been busy. It has been busy. It has been one thing after another. And I'm like, okay, God, this must really be what you want me to do, because there has been challenges on top of challenges. And you just have to work through them. And guess what? You still got to make it happen. Because when you have been chosen, when you are a part of the remnant, you got to know that you weren't just left there for no reason. You are definitely the one that is getting ready to stand up and shine in whatever you are going to do. Well, all right, y'all, I have talked more than enough. I'm getting ready to bring our awesome guest on, and she's getting ready to drop some knowledge on us and tell us about what she's doing. Hey, Kisha. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. A little local, but other than that, I'm great.
Well, that's perfectly fine.
So, I'm just so excited about having you with us today. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Why don't you go ahead and share with the people who you are, what you do, but most of all, why do you do what you do?
Good one, because people normally don't ask me that. So my name is Kisha Morgan. I'm actually a health and wellness coach. I mainly emphasize in low carb approach, low carb and keto, but I love teaching not just weight loss, but healing the reason our bodies are storing fat and also reversing a lot of the issues and conditions that we have today. Primarily speaking of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, having strokes, all of these things. So we can heal. And God teaches us that our bodies were created to heal as long as we create the right conditions. And it's my job to help people learn learn what those right conditions are. So why do I do what I do? Definitely was an assignment by God. And I often tell my story because when I realized that this is the journey that God, or I was thinking, hey, this might be the journey that God wants me to do. And I can remember praying and asking Him, was this what He wanted me to do? And it wasn't as simple as that. It was like, God, I know this is not what you want me to be doing, because I was in a period of my life where I was celebrating and loving being alone and being in some quiet time to myself. And I knew that would change. And so I really didn't want to do it. And so when I asked God, look, is this really what you want me to do? He gave me an answer in a way that I couldn't deny it, because He knew I needed it that way. Because if he had presented it any other way, I would have, of course, ran and not did what He assigned me to do. But since accepting it and realizing that I never take it for granted, because He literally could have chosen anyone, by choosing me to teach His people how He created us to heal, that meant a lot to me. And so that meant that I had to study continuously, that I had to make sure that I didn't let myself get in the way, that I always was doing what He told me to do. And of course, just like anybody else, there were times that I got off track with that, but it didn't last for long, because I was like, you know what? God didn't tell me to do that. And anytime, I know from past experiences, anytime that I was out of the will, then I was in trouble. And so it doesn't take me a minute to get back on track and say, hey, you know what? This is not what God told me to do. So let me get back in line and do what it is He told me to do. So the reason why I do what I do is because it's an assignment. We were created amazingly well, and he chose me to help show people how well he created us.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you talked about some things, and I got to ask. Because you hear so many things about these
Right.
different diets and different
Hmm.
lifestyle changes.
Right.
So what is so different? I know, like with keto, I looked at it and I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot of meat. This is
Hmm.
a lot going on."
Right.
Is this something that I can really do? And then, a lot of people are talking about intermittent fasting.
Hmm.
So what's the big difference between the two? And then how do you make a decision on which way to go?
Well, this is how I look at it now. I take it back to the basics. If I look at how I was created, just my body, the things that my body possessed, how was I created to actually eat? And when I look at my physical anatomy, we're animals. We're just supposedly intelligent. But the thing is, we're also the only animals that have health issues. And the only other animals that have health issues are the ones that we take care of. So, me being an animal, what characteristics do I have that tell me how I should eat? Where my eyes sit. My eyes sit on the front of my head. So that means I was created to be a hunter, which means that I should be eating meat because I have canines. So that means, yeah, I'm actually okay with eating meat because that's what I was created to do. The enzymes in my stomach actually break down meats extremely well. So, yeah, I was actually created to eat meats. And if we look back in history, a lot of our ancestors were hunters, and we actually ate meat pretty fine and did well for thousands of years. And so, how do things we've done well with for thousands of years all of a sudden creating these new diseases? Is it that? Or is it the things that we're adding to it in these more recent years? And we look at the research, and even when we look at actual timelines of how we were eating, it's the new things that we are eating now. We have a society that we just eat a lot of processed foods and a lot of sugars. One way I usually tell people, I can tell you what you should be doing. Your body will let you know. I
Mhm.
feel amazing. I just turned 50 last year, and I actually feel better now than I did in my 20s. So my body lets me know that, hey, yeah, this is an eating lifestyle that really fits you because you are good with it. Now, intermittent fasting, how does intermittent fasting work into that? We were created to feast and famine. That's it. We were never created to eat all day long. And I call it grazing like cows. We don't have the anatomy or the stomach that a cow has to literally graze all day long. So we have been eating far more frequent than what we should have. Again, our ancestors, they would hunt for their foods, they would eat it, but then they would go for a period of time because they had to wait for to hunt again to find the next kill, and they didn't have refrigeration. So we were created to feast and famine. Now, again, we've been eating way too frequently, and what we have a compound of that is we have a lot of illnesses, and especially in our communities, we are dealing with way more diseases now than we ever have before. Even if we, in my 50 years, if I think back until when I was in my early 20s, I didn't know far as many people as I do now that have just a lot of illnesses, even in the young ages.
Absolutely. I have been seeing a lot of young people because I'm right there with you. I'm in the land of 52, but I
Right.
am 53 and proud of it and
Mhm.
glad that neither one of us look like what
Right.
people think 50 should look like. Because when
Right.
people say, "Well, how old are you?" I was like, "I ain't ashamed of my age."
Right.
And I'm like,
50.
look, I'll be like, "I'm 53 and what? Now what?"
Loving it.
But
Right.
one thing that you said is that we were created.
Mhm.
And when you said the canines, that really brought something to me because I was like,
Right.
that makes so much sense. And
Mhm.
with the feast and the famine, I never even thought about it that way. So I guess my question would be with so much disease, so many things that are out there, say for
Right.
instance, somebody that's dealing with cancer, dealing with being on dialysis
Right.
and things of that nature. What are some things? What could be one thing that they could do or
Um,
maybe even two to change their diets to see a
Right.
difference in dealing with this from a positive perspective?
Sugar is the demon. That is by far the worst. And even when we look at it, everything is root caused some kind of way to sugar. And actually, this is a good day for us to be doing this interview. Tomorrow, Max marks my year 5 for me being sugar free. And for many of us, we think that that is just something that is just so far fetched from us that we just can't even imagine being living without sugar in our lives. And I was one of those. I was definitely a sugar addict, and the realization that I was a sugar addict hit me like a ton of bricks. And so then I began to look at everything around me. And I also want to make sure that we emphasize that the journey to health and wellness isn't just what you eat physically. If that was the case, then it would be so minute. It would be so easy because we wouldn't have so many people who were out of the wheel and who were just out there being so unhealthy. The journey to health and wellness includes many factors. What you eat physically is just a part of it. Now, that does require education because, again, everything that says sugar free definitely is not sugar free. So that requires education, but the other components factor into that too. What I feed myself physically, as well as what I feed myself mentally, what I feed myself spiritually, all matters. Because if I'm struggling mentally and spiritually, guess what? I'm going to struggle in the physical too. So all of those work together. And so when you're looking at trying to transform yourself to a better, healthier version of yourself, you have to actually look at all of them. You can't just look at one, because when you struggle in other areas, you struggle in the others. And I also want to make sure that I add, especially in our faith-based communities, when we look at the scripture that talks about our temple should be one that honors God. Normally, we talking about, or we like to rely on, that's talking about sex, that's talking about drugs, that's talking about alcohol. Well, let me tell you, the foods we eat are damaging our temple too. So even what you put in your body food wise, are you eating a lifestyle of showing your God, or showing God how much you appreciate your temple and that it still honors God? It's a different way to look at it.
Wow. You just messed up a whole lot of people's theology.
It is, because no one ever tells us to look at it that way. But
Not at all.
it damages us. And when we look at statistics of the reasons of death in America, what we eat kills more people than alcohol and drugs combined. So it's
That's
definitely an
so
issue,
crazy.
and it's definitely a space that the enemy is attacking, and he's attacking hard because we're not paying attention.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, Kisha, we definitely gonna have to have you come back after women's season because we need to do a whole show on just a health and wellness
Right,
from a female perspective, from a
right,
Christian
mhm,
entrepreneur female
right,
perspective,
right.
because so many of us, we're going to all the conferences, we're going to all the meetings, we're speaking,
Yeah,
and I'm guilty. I know that I
yeah,
need to drop a few pounds, but it's so hard when you're traveling, and it's
right,
especially now that we've been sitting down for 2 years. And now things are opening back up, and it's like
right.
it's easier to grab that bag of chips, go get that cinnamon roll,
Mhm,
get that hot dog or that sandwich, because
right,
it's just easy.
right.
So I would really love for us to come back and have a really
Mhm,
more in-depth
gotcha.
conversation of how we can start to make a change, or even put a challenge out to the
Right,
Christian female entrepreneurs to just, get our health in check,
right.
because I still want to look like this at 75. I'm just trying to tell you.
Hello.
You know,
Hello.
I want them to look at me at 75, talk about,
Right.
girl, you
Yeah,
75 for real?
I'm
Yes.
definitely there with you. That has to be me.
Yeah, yes, yes, and yes. So, Kisha, just to go ahead and let's wrap this up before our quick entrepreneur segments. When you hear Church Girl CEO, what does that mean to you?
Church Girl CEO means to me, exactly wraps up what I said in the beginning, with the understanding that God has an assignment for us. even as women in leadership positions and as CEOs, he didn't promote us to those positions. He didn't give them to us. He didn't bless them with us for us to just sit on them. So church girl CEOs lets us combine our God-given talents and the blessings that he has given us in order for us to share, to reach one, teach one, to look back and say, you know what, God has blessed me. My cup is running over. Let me let it fall on you as well. He gives us a wealth of knowledge. He gives us so much insight. And many of times we thought that when we were broken in all these little areas and we realized that the path to get in there, we had been broken many times. And once we get there as a church girl CEO, I realized that now all those little broken pieces I can attach to so many others. So all the times when I thought that I was just being broken for not a purpose, when I became a CEO and a church girl in itself, I realized that no, those broken pieces were needed and they were necessary so that I can attach to many others and that I can empathize with them and see where that God needs to show us how to usher them in.
Wow. You better come on and usher me. Yes, honey. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Kisha, please go ahead and tell the people if they would like to work with you, they would like to connect with you. Tell them how they can connect.
The easiest way is to reach out to me on my personal website. My personal website is www.Kisha Kisha Morgan Morgan.com. www.KishaMorgan.com. You can easily reach me there.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Kisha, it's been so much fun having you on with me. I'm so glad we have connected, and I can't wait to get you booked again so we can have a more in-depth conversation about this health, health and wellness.
Health and wellness.
And look, what health, wellness, and finances. Because if you ain't healthy, you gonna have what you gonna do with the money you got? What you gonna do with the things you acquire?
Right.
You ain't gonna do nothing.
You can't do anything. So it's the cornerstone of it all.
Absolutely. Well, all right, guys. It's been fun. It's been real. I love you to life, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great one. Peace.